What is up, you beautiful legends? We have Brandon from Dismay Comics here. What is up, my man? How you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. It's been a good day. I woke up and we hit our first stretch goal.
That's dope.
Great
That's
day.
dope. That's dope. Nice, nice, nice. That's always great to see. I know you've been definitely pushing the Kickstarter, the Gallows Man. We're going to get into all that. We're going to share some stuff. But for the people who aren't familiar with you, that might be seeing your face for the first time, just who are you, where you've come from, and what's a little backstory about you?
Yeah, so my name's Brandon Ingram. I'm the founder of Dismay Comics. It's kind of my publishing line, my publishing brand. I started writing, I've been writing for like since high school sort of thing, but writing comics I started around 2019, specifically focused on writing comics, and started publishing in 2021 and have put out The Gallows Man, Dismay Avenue, which is like my horror anthology series, Tales from Town City, which is kind of a spin-off of The Gallows Man. It's an anthology that follows minor characters within that world. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of my publishing line. Me getting into comics was like way back. It was
So
going
you are
to
a collector of comics and a fan of
oh yeah.
comics and a reader of comic. Awesome, awesome. I'd
Oh
love to
yeah.
hear that. And you basically answered one of my questions because the Gallows Man was, with Kickstarter and everything, there's so many people popping up and so many awesome creators and independent artists and everything. So it's tough to keep up with everything. But once you start seeing, the buzz in the community and people talk about things, that's how things really get around. But the Gallows Man for me was the first introduction to you and Dismay. And you mentioned what do you have? Two other titles, correct? If you want to just briefly talk about those, because those are your first works, correct?
Yeah, Gallows Man's the first published work, but my very first work that I did write was the horror stuff. Dismay
Cool.
Avenue
That's
number
dope.
one and Dismay Avenue number two. These are horror anthologies. The first one, it's all self-contained. It's one 40-page story. It's a movie date night that goes into this psychological horror route, kind of. The first 15 to 16 pages are almost a beat for beat of an actual date night I had back in college. The rest of
So
it's kind of like a what if it went this weird psychological horror route.
right.
And Disney Avenue number two has a mix of it has four different stories. It's 60 pages long. Each art style is completely different. Each story is very different. I'll at least show off this because it's of any of my stuff, it's my favorite page. One of the art
Here,
styles is very much like
I'll give you a spotlight, make it
perfect.
easier on yourself.
Yeah, and my camera doesn't do it justice, but it's very much like Junji Ito
That's
manga
dope.
esque
That's dope. I love that horror
with
vibes and
creature design.
grotesqueness of it. Yeah, dude.
And there's also other stuff. There's like surreal, painterly, like dreamlike art. There's more contemporary art. There's even
Oh, how
one
it
story.
bounces back and forth from the color of black and white. I like that style change.
Thank you.
Mm,
Yeah, and there's the more like contemporary art style,
nice.
and then then it goes to like Dr. Seuss type art style.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
crazy.
each story it fits very well. But yeah, these were like the first comics I ever worked on.
That's dope.
But regarding publishing, Gallows Man was first, and Tales from Town City, we released that last year. That was came about pretty much the second issue of Gallows Man, and that
Hmm.
one it's just a lot of fun. Like there's three stories in it. It follows very minor characters that are introduced in the Gallows Man. Like the first one follows two homeless villains, Hypno Ray and Rusty Hook,
That's
who
cool.
try to use expired coupons at a convenience store. One of them has hypnotism powers, but they're like
Mhm.
very weak, very poor hypnotism powers, to where he's struggling to convince this convenience store clerk that his coupons are expired. Um, and then the other big story is Fierce Pets. That's kind of what this cover is right here. It
Okay.
follows a team of super animals, including Hangmutt, which is the Galsman's dog.
Yep.
The super team is called Fierce Pets. Pets is an acronym. It's Precise Ecosystemic Tactical Squad, very much like the Wildcats Covert Action Team sort of thing. And it follows these super pets going and slaughtering poachers. So it's a lot of craziness, a lot of fun, but I've enjoyed doing all these books, but those are some
That's
of the other
awesome.
ones. And those are available in the add-on section as well. If people are like, "Oh, I want Gallows Man, but I also want to check
Yep.
this stuff out," it's available there as well.
So if somebody's, like I said, there's a lot of creators, a lot of stories out there. If you're not familiar with Gallows Man, in one simple, sentence or phrase or something, how would you get somebody like me or somebody watching this excited for them to be interested to click the links down below for all the information on your Kickstarter?
Gallows Man is Adam West Batman meets Inglorious Bastards. And once you read it, you definitely feel that. It is very much that golden age action, but like the campiness and funness
Yes.
of Adam West Batman mixed in with beating up and killing those
The
hate
goons
speaking
and
people.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. I've seen you say that a couple times, and going into it after hearing you say that, that's exactly the vibe. You get that old school vibe with, I'm a big boys fan. I love indie comics. Image is over everything to me. I do read Marvel, I do read DC, but when it comes to independent comics, those dominate my pull list. So I love the gritty, the violent comics. Again, this story is definitely, and I will say it a couple times, not for kids. It's for mature readers only. There is a violent book. There is some history references in it, but it's done respectively. It's done with taste, and it does speak to the villainous side of how history was. So we'll get into that. But where did kind of, because this is a very unique idea, and with the characters and with, like I said, there are Nazis as the villains and they're represented with the evil ways. But where did like that kind of idea all kind of start and come from?
The major thing with the Gallows Man was like the tone of it was seeing memes and seeing stuff like Batman 66 holding the bomb over his head, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like influences of memes and short clips and stuff like that. I still to this day have not seen a full episode of Batman 66, but it's just because I don't want it to subconsciously influence the Gallows Man
Right.
until the
Right.
Gallows Man is done. Once I'm done with the Gallows Man, I'm going to binge that show.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
but it was essentially in that show you'd have a punch go, and right before it connects you see bam pow
Right.
blam, and
Hmm.
then you see the aftermath after the bam pow blam goes away, and the aftermath is bad guy in cuffs or he's knocked on the ground, that sort of thing.
Yep.
This was take that where it is all of that, but the aftermath is guy breaks his neck on a table, guy gets his femur snapped, guy in issue 3 gets his head bashed into a wall multiple times.
Yes. Very, like I
Just
said, very, very violent. And I can attest to that. And it was something that wasn't really shocking, but it was something that was pleasing. Like I said, I'm a big boys guy, a big Invincible fan. So I love the shock value in comics. And this definitely hit that.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's some moments, especially in like issue 1, where people are reading it, it's like, oh, it's a fun little time, dumb humor, so like that. And
Yep.
then there's a point in issue 1 where people are like, oh crap,
And
okay,
I
so
definitely have those panels queued up, and we'll get into that right after this. But I just wanted to talk about your team. So you have the art,
yeah.
and then you have two different cover artists doing them. If you just want to give them their flowers and props to
Oh
them
yeah.
and explain them a little bit.
Helen Bolton is like whatever the 5 version of a triple threat is, that's what she is.
Nice.
She is the penciler, inker, colorist, letterer,
Awesome.
and also sometimes does little promo stuff. Like the
Nice.
stretch goal we just hit, she did the art for the bookmark of that.
Cool.
She's incredible. I've worked with her on all these issues of the Gallows Man. She's done some backups for Tales from Town City. But even before that, like I discovered her through DeviantArt, and the first thing we worked on was Dismay Avenue, the horror thing. Like that
Nice.
Dr. Seuss story that I had, the art there, that's Helen. That was the very
Awesome.
first thing we worked on. And yeah, the cover artist, Thomas actually reached out to me around 2020, something like that. And at that time, he had done a bunch of different cover art stuff for like an indie series called Burlap. And I was like, hey, like here's my portfolio, basically. And
Nice.
I don't even know if I was looking for a cover artist at that time, but I saw it and I was like, oh, sweet. Yeah. Like, dude, you're great. Like, can I get you to at that time it was like, can I get you to do an issue 1 cover? But from there is like, once I got the issue 1 cover, I was like, dude, yes,
It,
like
it
do all
definitely
of the main cover art.
it definitely captivates you with the 2 heroes standing there, and then with the hanging in the background. It definitely intrigues you, like what is going on. Like his power is literally hanging people. Like he'll just disappear, like Batman esque up a building, and then drop down a little noose and swoop somebody up. And
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah.
crazy, and it's very very unique, and he uses it in a unique way, and we'll get to that. But
And especially like in that specific cover, like you have this like
mhm.
somewhat jarring imagery in the background, but you have Gallows Man and Newsboy
Yep.
smiling or doing the classic hero pose sort of thing, like Adam West Batman or Golden Age
Yes.
hero, where it's like, ah,
The
yes, good,
classic
we did
pose.
good,
Yes.
chum, like that sort of
Yes.
thing.
Yes. So
But Thomas did
and the trade dress
fantastic.
is great too, with the Gallows Man across that as well. I
Oh yeah,
really
yeah.
enjoy that.
Thomas is the one that like designed the trade dress at first, and then we've carried it over to the main covers as well as the variant covers. And Rick's variant covers, I discovered him because I was just kind of like following his Instagram page, because his art is really, really great. And he has like a Scotty Young-esque style to his art. It's not beat for beat Scotty Young, but like it's like, oh, like I can see like hints of that sort of thing. And I love Scotty Young's art. So especially like his interior art. I think that's
Yeah,
something
like
people
his
don't talk
inspirations
about
and things.
enough with Scotty
Agreed.
Young.
Agreed.
But
Agreed.
yeah, with Rick, I was like, oh, can I get you to do like some variant covers and stuff? And since then he's been killing it.
Nice. So let's get into a little interior art, and you'll see right off the rip. Like I said, it has the little Adam West vibes with the dialogue and everything. But the one thing that really intrigued me is where did the idea of like having the Nazis with that kind of stuff? Is there any personal attachment or background from you, or is it just to really? Because like I said, to me in history, that's the ultimate bad guy. That is one of the ultimate villains. That is one of the most tragic times in our history. So to some people, that could be shocking. But when you read this book, you see that they're represented by the evil ways. They're the villains. So again, I think that was done in a really respectful taste. But why did you choose kind of that route with the villains?
There's a mix of reasons. One was this was always going to be set in like golden age period, like 1940s
Mm-hmm.
time, to where
Okay.
this is a thing that's going on at this time. Like Nazis are
Right.
around at this time. So that was a part of it. Another part of it was the universal bad guys, Nazis. Like of
Yes.
any bad guys in all of history, or at least all of modern
Yeah.
history, Nazis are like, we can all get behind, like, hey, like get those guys. Like
Yes,
stop
that's the
those guys.
ultimate evil.
Yeah. So like that was very, very helpful and crucial in this. And then like regarding some of the humor that is added in this book, in
Mm-hmm.
kind of like this isn't the best term, but kind of clowning on the Nazis a little bit. Some of that influence comes from stuff like Inglorious Bastards or Jojo
Yes,
Rabbit,
the
where
satireness of it.
yeah,
Mhm.
where Quentin Tarantino is able to ride that line pretty well of telling his story, but
Phenomenal
also
movie.
but also
Mhm.
like clowning on them some. And Taika
Yes.
Waititi, I know like people, the whole thing with Thor: Love and Thunder and all that, like people are
Mhm.
split on that. He's a fantastic writer and filmmaker, and Jojo Rabbit is an excellent like thing of that, where he is
Right.
writing that fine line, and there are things he's clowning about. It's subtle things, very
Yes, I
subtle
agree.
things,
I
but
agree.
yeah, like influences like that, as well as me knowing it was going to be set in this time period, um and just taking some of those influences and just kind of somewhat incorporating it into the story.
Right. And I thought it was done very respectably in taste. And then we did mention, again, this was a very mature and not for kids, like the boys, like Invincible things. And you're going to see here where you have basically him getting crushed by the symbol. And then even more, what I love is the cover two. where you see, because cover one was so, it wasn't tame. You had the people hanging in the background, but it was
Yeah,
more
yeah.
of that.
It was hidden, kind of. Yeah.
Yes, but it had that prominent pose. It had those superhero pose. And then Gallows 2, you can just see from the cover, and you know what to expect. You know that this is going to be a gory issue. Have you ever, I don't know with how like Kickstarter things work or anything, but have you ever considered maybe putting a mature label, or is there a mature label, or does Kickstarter even like require that kind of thing?
That's what's weird is they don't have a mature label, which I would be okay with. I would definitely slap it on my book.
Hmm.
Like when people get my book, whether
Right.
digitally or physically, on the very back at the bottom where the barcode is, it says
Hmm.
rated M mature reader.
Right.
And the
Yes.
Gallows Man, like there's no suggestive themes, no alcohol use, no drug use,
Hmm.
no this, no language, like none of that
There's a
stuff. But
nudity, anything like that.
yeah, yeah, nothing like that,
Hmm.
but I put rated M for mature because of this over the top violence sort of
Right.
thing. Like the over the top gruesomeness is like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like this is a mature reader, which it's kind of weird seeing in the States, in the United States of and I've talked about this with a buddy of mine of what we deem as okay for our children because
Hmm.
I've done conventions to where, and someone's next to me and they have like not entirely like nudie books and stuff, or not entirely
Hmm.
like nudie material, but it's
They're
like
pretty risque. I know
bikini
what you're
stuff,
talking about.
kind of
Yes.
risque,
Hmm.
and but ultimately covered up.
Right.
And a parent will walk by and like they won't say anything, but I can tell they're like kind of scoffing at that, like, oh, like
Hmm.
I'd never let my child read that. And then they
Right.
come to my table and they see something like the Gallows Man, and they're like, hey, I'm looking for something for my kid. Like this looks interesting. This looks good for little Billy, sort of thing. I was like,
Hmm.
well, let me first warn you,
Lead
it
with.
it doesn't have all of these things, but it has like over the top like violence and gruesomeness to it.
Right.
It is in a cartoony fashion, but it is there. So I just want to let you
Hmm.
know I have it labeled rated M for mature. Just want to let you know. And almost all the time they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's no problem." Like he's seen all kinds of violent shows. He watches The
Played
Boys. He
video games,
this, yeah,
whatever.
yeah, all this
Hmm.
stuff. And I don't have an issue with that. I just find it funny that in the States, that is the
The
weirdness
aspect, right.
of like, oh, like we can't really show people in bikinis or anything. Like that's a big no-no. But yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, over the top violence, guy getting his head
Right.
bashed in with a symbol, that's no problem.
Because I know, like Marvel, they're currently doing the red band, which I'm a fan of. I'm a sucker. I pull the red bands, but at the end of the day, it's only like two or three extra pages, and it's not. It's a little bit of extra blood, but it's not enough to put a mature rated
Right,
thing
right.
or not for kids or anything. So that was very interesting. That was the one thing I wanted to ask because I wasn't sure how Kickstarter worked. But the one thing that I do enjoy about this is he was taking his mask off and it gave him like more of a personal vibe because I deal with and I talk about a lot of mental health on my channel, my positivity series. I've been doing that for over 2 years. And when he takes his mask off, he's remembering the accounts that happened to him with his former sidekick. What is when it comes to like mental health and stuff, what is like some of the struggles of the day to day? I know you talked about, you have a full-time day job and everything. This isn't your main money making thing. We all have to have a job to pay our bills, but what are some of the struggles or the ups and downs when it comes to doing a comic or creating a comic?
Struggles can definitely come in various aspects. I'd say over the years and through counseling and talking with people, it's definitely helped me. Like if
Nice.
me
Awesome.
today compared to 2017 me is like night and day in terms of
Agreed.
mental health because at that time I wasn't doing comics. I was writing as like a
Hmm.
hobby, and writing like technically still is a hobby today because it's not
Right.
my main source of income. But it's 2017, writing as a hobby, and I was in the nursing program at that time. I had like 2 semesters left to graduate, and I was just like miserable for like a
Hmm.
year plus sort of thing where I had no passion in nursing. Like the reason I was in it was decent pay, like not amazing pay, but pretty good pay,
Right.
as well as job security, like
Hmm.
could get a job almost anywhere sort of thing.
Right.
But as a career path, it's one thing to have a job, to make the money, to support your living, a job,
Hmm.
but a career path, something you're going to do the rest of your life.
Totally
I
different.
had I had no passion for it, and it just drained me and drained me. And span of a year, over a year, I finally like got to a point where it's like I don't have a backup plan, but I have to withdraw from this program. Like I can't do this anymore.
Right.
And it was one of those things where it's like I didn't know what I was going to do at that time. I don't recommend people do that. Like I if you can
Correct.
have a backup plan, definitely
It's
have a
always
backup
nice to
plan.
have a safety blanket and everything,
Yeah.
but at some point you still always have to look out for yourself and your
Oh
mental
yeah,
health
and
first.
and that's what it was, and it was one of those things where I withdrew, didn't know what I was going to do, and I also kind of felt not I felt like kind of a relief because I was away from that, but I felt very down because I felt like I had this like quitter's mentality sort of thing where it's like,
Hmm.
like I'm a loser, I'm a quitter, that sort of thing. Like all these people have seen me do this, like going for nursing for so long. Like I feel like I may
Right.
be disappointing people, sort of thing. Um, but with all that quitter's mentality thing, I challenged myself. I was like, okay, I need a W. I
Hmm.
challenged myself to at that point I had written a bunch of short screenplays and stuff, and the longest one was maybe 40 pages. I was like, okay, I'm going to write a feature length script. That is my challenge to myself. And I'm to add to the challenge, I'm going to do it within 45 days. I'm no longer in the nursing program, so that's not really eating up my time. I'm
Right.
looking for a job, but as I'm looking for a job, write feature length script within 45 days. And
Keep
that's
yourself challenged.
yeah, yeah. I needed that. That
Hmm.
script was The Gallows Man. That was the very first
Awesome.
feature length screenplay I'd written, and then later I made it into a comic. But I needed that. And I think it was maybe 30, 31 days. I wrote the first draft to where it
Nice.
was something I needed. So I went on I went on this random spiel of this story, but to show like through all of comic creating, there are things that we face. There are various things that we face, and a lot of times this writing is like a great outlet.
Yes.
Whether you're writing about what you're going through or not, you don't have to be writing about what you're going through, but simply like that, challenging yourself. If you feel like you're lesser than yourself, challenging yourself, it's
Hmm.
very crucial.
Nice, man. Nice. And that's something I definitely wanted to take because I know there's a couple other people in the community that they have done Kickstarters and stuff. So it's always nice to, if you're struggling to see that everybody goes through the same kind of thing, there's always a good outcome no matter what's going on. So it's just
There
something I wanted to touch.
and there's one more thing I want to mention with the mental health thing. Let's say someone does make a comic, they are doing a Kickstarter and stuff, but they fail their funding goal. They fail
Hmm.
their funding goal. It is a huge like gut punch. I want to say to
I
everyone though,
could imagine.
the very first Kickstarter I did failed. The very first one I did failed the funding goal. It was for Dismay Avenue #1. I failed the funding goal. I set a goal. We we hit maybe a quarter of that. So failed it.
And we're
The
about to see
thing,
where you're at with your goal as well here
yeah,
shortly.
yeah.
So,
Well, it
mhm.
was one of those things where I failed it, and it was a gut punch. It's like, oh
I could
crap.
imagine, man. Could
But
imagine.
but with it being my very first one, there was so much I learned through that failure,
Right.
through the mistakes that I made. The biggest one being marketing. I had no idea how to market books, specifically like reaching out to YouTubers, reaching out to people
Hmm.
like Adam and stuff, and like having
Right.
people check out your book and try to help spread the word outside of just
That's the easiest and toughest thing to do sometimes. It really
yeah.
is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Like that was crucial, as well as like I'm sure everyone will do this, but friends and family, be sure to tell them about the project
Oh yeah.
before it even launches. I was stupid and told people like a week into the project, like my very first one, I was like, "Hey, I've got this
Mhm.
Kickstarter going," sort of thing. It's like,
Right.
no, no, no. Tell them a month before, tell
Get them
them a
excited,
week
get them hyped.
before. Exactly. Tell them a week before,
Mhm.
tell them the day it launches, tell them at least a few days before it ends. Like there's multiple times and I get it. You may out there be thinking like, oh, but I don't want to like just constantly be like bugging people and bothering people.
Right.
You aren't
Do it.
doing that. If they truly care about
Agreed.
you and the stuff you're doing, they're fine. It's all in your head
Agreed.
in terms of
Mhm.
like I'm bugging them, I'm bothering them. And even if that may be the case with some people, to get these books out there, especially as an indie creator, you kind of have to do that. I
Yes.
hate doing it, but you do kind of have to bug and bother people.
At the end of the day, it's all about promotion. It's all that's just the day and age we got to live in. And you're
Yeah,
right. If they do care about you, if they're excited for what you're doing, if you're excited for something and they care about you, that's what fuels and funds the hobby for me. If I see somebody's passion, that gets me excited for it. That makes me want to go check it out. So I think that's great. And before we
100%.
get off this last little slide here, I just wanted to include like my favorite little panel when they're sneaking into the shipyard and they take out the one dude and he uses him as like a ventriloquist dummy to like
Yeah,
trick
yeah.
everybody. I thought that was a nice little funny touch to break up the like the violence, the monotony of the gore and everything like that. And then you poke fun with the little humor there and there with the sprinkles in like that. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you, man. Yeah, that whole scene, it's like a 7, 8 page scene. Like whenever was
Mm-hmm.
first writing that, everyone that like, at least as writers, because I can speak as a writer, at least as writers, if you have no like editorial over you, or if you don't have like a boss over you or whatever it may be, who's like pushing you, like you have to do this, you have to do that. If you have that 100% creative freedom, you should love what you write. You should like what
Right.
you write, like because it's what you want to do. And I like what I write. And writing that scene, like when I was first writing it, I was laughing because it's so dumb. It's so over the top.
That's what I was doing. I was just like, this is wild.
It's very stupid and dumb, but like that's what I love about it. So it's one of those
Agreed.
things. Writers out there, if you don't have the boss over you, sort of thing, if you are able to do all that you want to do with no stipulations, you should like that. You should like what you write if that is the case.
Right, right, agreed. And I just noticed I didn't have the slide for this very last thing I wanted to talk about. So as we transition, and I'm going to share my screen right now, the one thing we talked about backstage was I liked on the end panel, you had an entire like, I'm just making sure this looks good on my end. I'll edit this part. Oh, cool. Okay, I'll clip it back in. But yeah, the one thing I wanted to talk about was you had on the last page, you said instead of, you could have threw another ad, you could have, cut the story short. You wrote an extra like two, I think it was like 2 or 3 pages, and you wrote down an entire like half book at the end talking about what you wanted to do there. And the one thing that really resonated with me is your inspirations with anime and manga, because a lot of things they do is they do like the chibi style, the little like, baby style at the end with like a 2 little panel thing. And that's what you did with one of the little side characters. And I'm a huge anime fan. I love Dragon Ball Z, Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia. So how did anime really inspire you to kind of take that last little page and finish that story off, finish that issue off right, I should say?
Oh yeah, it was a major thing, and people like if you check out issue 2 of the Gallows Man, you'll be able to see me breaking it down in terms of like mistake I made in terms of page count, to where that little mistake, going Bob Ross almost with this, that little mistake turned into this happy little story. Like you can take those mistakes and make something of it, to where that little happy story, that little mistake
Right.
made that story, which then made Tales from Town City. If it wasn't for that mistake, I probably wouldn't have got the idea to do an anthology of the smaller characters. So there's always stuff like that. But
And
yeah,
now,
like inspirations of that sort of thing. I was reading Tokyo Ghoul at the time, and
Awesome.
It's in a bunch of manga, but Tokyo Ghoul does that a lot of times of like at the end or at the beginning, there's like a 1 or 2 page little chibi
Yep.
story following some of the characters. That was where a lot of that influence came from.
Nice, man. I love to see that. And let's just end. Before we end, let's go to your page. And it's not going to show. I'm not logged in on my Kickstarter, but when we get to the bundle, I'll show you which guys I backed. But let's see. What I think I had 25 days left in my. Let me go to the main campaign page. And I'm not going to play. There's a little intro video. I recommend you guys going to it on your end and checking it out.
Oh yeah. 100%.
All the links will be on the description. But I noticed like if I play that video on my end through StreamYard, the audio sounds really, really weird. I've seen. So it's sometimes loud, and just hit the links down in the description. But here is issue. What's this? The main cover for issue number 3, correct?
Yeah, that's the main cover for issue 3. Very dark, showing the Hangmobile, his Batmobile sort of thing that gets introduced in the
Hangmobile. I love that.
Yeah. And it's a very fun issue, and like the variant cover, like Rick did an amazing job. Both did amazing jobs, Thomas and Rick. I love the contrast between the two. Like both are dark, but with Thomas's, it is the dark blues and grays and stuff, and then Rick's is more like the dark, warm colors sort of thing. So I think it's a good thing contrast. That like if people, it's a good thing for people to pick like which one would they rather have, or if people are like I got to have both, it feels justified because they are so different and they go well together. Yes.
So let's go. Let's see. Here's talking about your goal. Your goal was 750, and you're already at 1,295. So a big congratulations on that, bro.
Thank you.
43 backers. Yes. Go ahead, brother.
I'm so thankful for like everyone that has backed this. I mean, like within the first 40 hours, we hit the 750 goal.
That's awesome.
Like I had mentioned earlier, this morning I woke up. We hit our first stretch goal of 25 or 1,250. It's amazing. It's amazing to see like this momentum for this book in the years that we've been making it.
Nice. And that's why I do things like this. I know a lot of people have shared you around and had you on their shows, but at the end of the day, that's the easiest thing to do is like promotion, sharing. And even if there's one new person that gets eyes on this that might not have seen it on my channel or anybody's other channel or Instagram, then that's a win for me. And my time is always worth it. So let's break down these. Yeah, for sure, dude. Let's break down these rewards a little bit and then we can go through it. So super easy. I like the $1 thank you. I like you had a little just where we go. There we go. Pledge.
Yeah, like
just a little social media thank you, because people like shout outs. People like the recognition, things like that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where someone might not be interested in the book or budget wise might not be able to like go for a higher tier, but simply like $1 or a couple dollars sort of thing helps a ton. Because if you've backed other books before or people follow you, like once you back something, could simply be $1 that gets shared, like so and so backed this, like people get that on their emails and stuff. As well as it's encouraging for me because it's like, oh, like another backer, like this is great. And it also helps with our backer giveaways. Every 25 backers we get, there's another giveaway. So it helps with that. Every little bit helps.
So then we have, you can just get your digital copy. You always have the PDF copy files, which are nice. If you don't want the physical media, it's always cheaper to get that. But for me, it's got to be the physical media, and that's where you get into your first one with the $12 tier.
Oh yeah, and I'll mention to everyone, like this is not your standard issue in terms of length. Like it's not a 20-page comic, it's not a 32-page comic. Issues 1 and 2 are over 52 pages long.
Led with that.
Oh no, you're good. Like issues 1 and 2 are over 52 pages long. Issue 3 is 60 plus pages. It's like the longest of them.
That's
so
crazy.
You get a lot of bang for your buck sort of thing.
Nice. Yeah, that was the one thing I noticed when you first sent those PDF files. I was like, I downloaded them. I was like, dude, this is like 52 pages or something. You're like, yeah, man. I was like, holy crap. So And then we have Gallows Man 3, great value bundle. I keep getting stuck in the side tabs here. There we go. It's just showing
Yeah.
all the stuff. Ketchup bundle. This is what I think is the best bang for the buck, the ketchup
Oh yeah.
bundle. That's the one I got.
Because
Yeah,
with
because
that
I
one,
didn't
you
have.
get
Yeah,
yeah,
explain
with
it.
that one, you get Gals Man number 1, 2, 3, Tales from Town City number 1, all of those physical, all signed. And you also, at the end of the campaign, you get to choose which covers you want because there's a cover A and a cover B. So all of those are signed, plus all the PDF copies of the comics, plus sticker set, plus PDF copies of the scripts, of all of those scripts, so people can check that out. They can learn like from my writing. They can learn like, oh, like he sucks as a writer or whatever it may be. Like there's something to learn there. But a lot of bang for your buck, like you said.
And then is the Gallows Man complete bundle? Is that just the actual everything you just said, but you get the physical editions of the other books as well? Correct.
Yeah. The Gallows complete bundle is Gallows 1, 2, 3, Tales from Town City number 1. But instead of cover A or cover B, you get both. So you get cover A, cover B of
Okay.
Gallows 1, cover A, cover B, Gallows 2. Same thing with the others, as well as all the sticker sets, all the PDFs, all the script PDFs, all that sort of stuff.
Nice. And then if there's any shops or anything that stumble upon this, you do have retailer bundles that way you can guys get this in your store and everything. And
Yeah, and
then
there's
the create. Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say there's 2 retailer bundles. There's the Gallows 3 one because we've had some comic shops that followed along and backed all of our projects and got books. So there's Gallows 3 bundle where you can just get 10 copies of issue number 3. There's also a like all of it bundle where it's Gallows 1, 2, 3, Tales from Town City. You get a bunch of copies of all 4 of those. So a little bit of
Nice.
everything in terms of retailer bundles.
And then you want to break down the creator value bundle?
Yeah, so the creator value bundle is the complete bundle that I mentioned before, where it's all 4 of those comics, it's all of their covers, it's all of the PDFs, it's all of the PDF scripts, all of the sticker sets, and you also get a Zoom consultation with me, a script
Nice.
consultation through Zoom with me, where, and also it's not one of those things where like I'm just gonna once we start the Zoom, I'll look at your script and just be reading it the whole time, and I'll be looking down,
Mm-hmm.
and the person will be like, "What's he doing?" No, I'll get your script way before our Zoom meeting. I'll take notes. I'll take a bunch of notes, and then once we get into the Zoom meeting, I'll go over that stuff. And if you have any questions, I'll help answer them. If I have any questions about the script, I'll ask them. We'll really be breaking it down. It is very much a consultation for any writers out there. I definitely recommend that. I've helped a couple people in the past through that tier with consulting with their script. So that's what that one is.
That's awesome. And then before we wrap up and get out of here, I do want to mention I think it is very unique, and I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't back too many Kickstarters here and there. I do dabble in it with like toys and things like that. But I like that you have the original art bundles. I think those are super dope.
Thank you. Yeah, those are one of both of them were hard to let go. The one right there, the guillotine piece, was kind of hard to let go for me. I have both of them, so it's not like, oh, where's the art or anything. I have them. They're in like protective archival mylar sleeves and stuff. Everything is good. People, you can
Nice,
go to the
nice.
Kickstarter page and you can see like all the art, like the details of it and stuff. But with those bundles, you get the original art. Whichever bundle you choose, you'll get
That's
the
cool.
original art. You also get the preliminary sketch that Thomas did, because Thomas, he's the one that did these art pieces. He's the main cover artist. You get the original art, and you get the Zoom consultation. You get all of those books I mentioned before, all signed,
Nice.
all the covers, all signed, all the PDFs, PDF scripts. It's like a laundry list of stuff you get. So you get the original art, and you get a ton of other stuff as well.
Nice, dude. like I said, I think those are really cool. And like I said, I've checked out a couple of Kickstarters here and there, and I've never seen them have like, I know their big things are mostly like, oh, back the top tier, and you have, you know, a little shout out page at the end with like your channel logo and everything, which is awesome. I still love that or whatever. But I love that with yours, if you're a true fan, if you're very excited about it, if you love this book, that it gives them a chance to own up that kind of piece, because there are a lot of people that collect the original art and they do like those kind of things. So I just think it's a nice little option to have.
Thank you. And I do want to mention in terms of like rarity with this. I mean, there's rarity in any type of original art, but
Right.
Helen, she does digital in terms of her interior. So there is no original art for the interiors.
Okay.
Rick also does digital for his covers. So when it comes to the traditional pencil and inks of the Gallows Man, that comes through Thomas's artwork. He's done all those covers. He did the issue 1 cover. He did the issue 2 cover. I have the original art of these covers. I bought issues 1 through 4, the original art for it. Probably never going to sell those. Those are like,
no, you got to keep those.
Those are
you got to keep those, man.
That's like my precious sort of thing.
Right.
But whenever I did buy those, I did commission him to do a few art pages, just as, hey, like we don't have a lot of original art for the series, but
Right.
you have a chance to get it, sort of thing. If you really like the Gallows Man, you can get that sort of thing.
Nice, man. So before we wrap up, and again, just thank you for your time. Again, to anybody watching, all the information is in the descriptions, all that kind of fun stuff. Is there anything you want to leave off, say, anything I might have missed? Because at the end of the day, I'm a noob when it comes to interviewing people, and I like to do it off the top of my head, just kind of go with the flow. So I think it was a nice little conversation. But if there's anything I missed or anything you want to lead off, now's your time to shine, brother.
Yeah, I recommend people check out the Kickstarter. Again, a tier ranging for any budget, $1 to $199 with the art bundle sort of thing. Tier for any budget. Every bit helps. It helps with one, spreading the word, also getting that backer count up for the backer giveaways and stuff. And if you're not able to help support monetarily, like Adam had mentioned before, sharing it out is always free, and it's extremely helpful, because especially with indie creators, like that's what we try to do is just spread the word of our stuff. So every little bit helps. All of my social stuff, people can check that out. Dismay Comics, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I lucked out with Dismay Comics for all of those. I didn't have to add a 1 or a 2 or a 20 or whatever.
Awesome. I'll leave all that stuff in the description for you as well, brother.
Yeah, so people can follow along with social media, follow along with the project, the Kickstarter, as well as future books, future Kickstarters we have coming up, all kinds of stuff.
Nice, man. So again, just thank you for your time. I appreciate it chatting. I'm excited to get my hands on it. I'm excited to get my hands on a physical copy, because at the end of the day, the PDF files are nice, but it's nothing without it. So that's how I
agree.
feel.
I agree. Thank you, man.
So again, to all you guys watching, I appreciate your time as well. Make sure you guys hit the links down below. Make sure you go follow Brandon on all his socials. But at the end of the day, stay legendary, and I hope you guys find what you're looking for. Thank you.